A massive, coordinated offensive. An insurgency that's decades old, suddenly roaring back to life. And a region that's absolutely critical to the global economy, now plunged into chaos. We're going to break down the huge offensive that just rocked Balochistan.
So let's set the scene. It's January 31st, 2026. Separatist militants unleash what might be one of the most significant and widespread attacks in Pakistan's recent history. They hit right in the heart of Balochistan, this massive, resource-rich province, and in doing so, they escalate a conflict that's been simmering for a very, very long time.
And the scale of this, it was just staggering. This was not a single isolated incident. We're talking about armed assaults, suicide bombings, hitting security posts, police stations, even civilian areas, all happening at almost the exact same time across at least 9 different districts. From the capital, Quetta, all the way to the critical port city of Gwadar, the message was loud and clear. This was a highly planned, highly coordinated operation.
So, who was behind it? Well, the Baloch Liberation Army, or BLA, quickly claimed responsibility, and they gave it a name, Operation Harof. Now, the name itself tells you a lot. Harof is a term from Baluchi poetry that means black storm. It's a name meant to sound like a powerful, unavoidable, almost destructive force of nature. And that tells you everything you need to know about the BLA's intent here.
You know, as soon as the fighting on the ground started, a whole other war kicked off right alongside it, an information war. And it created 2 completely different versions of what actually happened.
Just look at these numbers. The gap is, well, it's massive. The Pakistani government said its forces killed 145 militants, and they only lost 17 of their own. The BLA, on the other hand, claimed they lost only 7 fighters, but took out 84 security personnel and captured 18 officials. This isn't just a simple disagreement on the numbers, this is a full-blown battle to control the narrative of who won and who lost.
But amid all this chaos, something else emerged. A really significant strategic shift from the BLA, one that seems specifically designed to grab the world's attention and completely reshape the image of their fight.
For the first time, really, the BLA put women front and center in direct combat roles. The group released photos of fighters like Asifa Mengal, who's just 24, and they claim she attacked the headquarters of the ISI, which is Pakistan's incredibly powerful intelligence agency. Then there's Hawa Baloch, a writer who they say was killed fighting in Gwadar. This is a huge change, moving women from just support roles to being right on the front lines.
And make no mistake, this was not a random thing. The BLA is strategically promoting its female fighters. They're framing this as payback, as retaliation for the state allegedly targeting Baloch women. It turns their involvement into a really powerful propaganda tool. But it also raises a big question about where the group is heading. Is this a real ideological shift? Is it a calculated PR move for Western audiences? Or is it a sign of an insurgency that's having to dig deeper into its own communities for fighters?
So why is any of this even happening? To really understand this black storm, we have to rewind and look at the decades of resentment that have been fueling this entire conflict.
Look, this violence is not new, not by a long shot. The insurgency in Balochistan actually goes all the way back to 1948, right after Pakistan was created. There have been waves of conflict ever since, with huge uprisings in the 1970s, and more recently, in the 2020s, a whole new series of flashpoints, like crackdowns on protests and alleged extrajudicial killings, has just poured fuel on the fire, driving a new wave of anger and recruitment for these armed groups.
At the heart of it all are these core grievances. Balochistan is sitting on a treasure trove of natural resources. We're talking gas, gold, valuable minerals. And yet, it's still Pakistan's poorest province. The local people feel totally exploited and shut out of the political process. They've been demanding more autonomy for years and an end to what they say are serious human rights abuses, like forced disappearances that just go unanswered.
Okay, so this might all seem like a distant regional fight, but trust me, the stakes are incredibly high for the rest of the world, and you can bet that a lot of countries are watching very, very closely. Here's why. Balochistan is the physical anchor of the massive, multi-billion-dollar China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPAT. This project is a huge piece of China's global Belt and Road Initiative, and the deep seaport of Gwadar, which was a key target in these attacks, is its crown jewel. So, any instability here is a direct threat to one of the biggest infrastructure projects on the planet. And it's not just about Chinese money. As analyst Michael Kugelman points out, attacks like these are a huge wake-up call for anyone else looking to invest in Balochistan's mineral reserves,
many of which are in the exact areas that were just hit by violence. This insurgency is a direct threat to major global economic interests.
As you can imagine, the attacks also set off immediate diplomatic fireworks. Pakistani officials pointed the finger directly at their regional rival, India. The defense minister accused Indian-sponsored militants and even used the term fitna al-Hindustan, which is an Arabic phrase that means the mischief of India. India's government fired right back, calling the accusations baseless and frivolous, and basically telling Pakistan to deal with its own internal problems. All of this brings us to the fundamental question here, the one that sits at the very heart of this conflict. While Pakistan's security forces respond with more force, can a military crackdown ever really solve problems that are, at their core, political and economic?
And that really lays bare the central paradox of Balochistan, doesn't it? The region is far too economically important for Pakistan and the world to just ignore. It's home to ports and minerals that are key to the future, and yet it seems to remain too politically neglected for things to ever calm down. And until that gap is somehow bridged, that black storm may be destined to return again and again.